Hey, yo, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back, welcome back to your favorite show with your favorite bro. Quick Takes is back one more time. It is season 3, episode 2B, and it starts now. After 11-6 record in the week 1 and the Thursday night football at hand that has already gone through, we move on to the 13 game slate that is to go down today, or I mean, in a short time anyway. Kicking off with 5 divisional games. Um, let's get right into it. Number one, we start out in Tennessee between the Los Angeles Rams and the Tennessee Titans. And in this one, we have to probably should rock out with the Rams. Why do I say that? Well, I think it gets down to the quarterbacks. You have a former number one overall pick in 2009 in Matthew Stafford, and the 2024 or 2025 NFL draft pick first overall in Cam Ward. So it gets down to them. But as we just saw last week against the Denver Broncos, we saw, I guess you could call it kind of potential of the Titans. Uh like the heart, the will, whatever you want to call it, because they, the wide receivers drop balls, even trusted wide receiver like Calvin Ridley. um Offensive line, I expected better than they were. They might still gel into a better unit, but so far still leave me with a little bit of question mark. On the other side, a Rams team, they had a phenomenal game against the Texans, but I do believe they should come back with a little vengeance. Devonta Adams, I think, only had like 40 yards on his debut. Puka Nakua got, bloodied up. So I think just mindset wise, they should come out firing. It might be a close matchup, kind of similar to the one against the Denver Broncos for the Tennessee Titans. But for me personally, you already know how I rock out. I am rocking with the Rams in this one. Moving on to Jacksonville and another two former number one overall picks in Trevor Lawrence and Joe, but Burrow. This one's a close one. I think, if it was until last season, it's a easy, bro. We're going Bengals over Jags all day. I think I am still rocking Bengals over Jags for now, but I think it's a lot closer. If you guys have done your work yourselves, you guys know last week Jacksonville actually had the best offensive line, no pressure out of Robert Hainsey, two solid guards with Mercari on the right side. I am appalled that I can't remember the left guard's name right now. You have Walker Little and Anton Harrison on the outside, so you have solid tackles as well. That's a unit that started yelling last year that's showing out this year, and they will continue to and get better over the course of the season, especially once the run game kind of gets chugging behind them as well. Liam Cohen been a successful offensive play caller everywhere he's been, so it should be, very, like not surprising at all that his offense is succeeding, and the defense just needs to be able to bend but not break, and we'll see if they get back into the playoffs. AFC South, it's looking a lot more open than it just being Houston Texans division that we kind of had envisioned after CJ Stroud's rookie year. But for that, like I mentioned, it's going to be Jaguars O line, it's going to be Bengals D line. Who actually wins out? It might get down to that, because on the Bengals front seven side, you still do have a Shamar Stewart that you just drafted in the first round. You got Trey Hendrickson, who came back, BJ Hill inside. So you still do have pieces on your own, but those guys have to handle in the trenches early. So the back end of the Bengals defense doesn't have to defend for too long. Might be a close one. Bengals probably pull this out with Joe Burrow. Broncos at the Ravens. First of our divisional matchups. I mean, last week I did not give the Browns the respect that they deserve, but at the same time, they have been the Browns, so it was kind of deserved on both ends. But the defense showed out, and didn't stop necessarily, but kind of slowed down offense and a quarterback like Joe Burrow. I mean, almost completely for that performance that he had. So Ravens have to kind of get into this game with a little bit of pinch of salt. I do believe Jameis kind of beat them in Baltimore last year as well. So this one being at home, they should kind of be mindful and wary of. And an 0-2 Ravens, I think that's going to kind of start caving that world in. Even though they're a solid roster, it's you need something to kind of like signify something in the beginning of the season. Like last year, it was the Saints going crazy against Dallas, and then they just got injuries and started going down. So it could still, veer off in either direction. But I think Derrick Henry gonna be pissed after the fumble and the Grant Delpit talk. The defense has gonna want to show out, so it should be interesting to see how the Ravens do come out, especially in the division. I think Ravens have to handle this more than they are gonna handle this. Moving on, Bills at the Jets. I think this one. Bills Mafia, please do not hate me. I promise you, it's not you, it's me. But for this one, I gotta rock out with the Jets. Why do I say that? Yes, you guys won that. I mean, like one of the best games ever. 41-40. Scorigami people never had happened before. So a game that will go down in the history books in our minds for a long time. But at the same time, you guys were down 15 in the fourth quarter to begin with. Comprendo. See, like you can't be going down against good teams and then expect to get back up. Yes, I just did say good teams, and I am talking about the Jets in the same vein. This is not your Big Brother's Jets. This is not even, whoever's Jets. This is a brand new Jets. It won't be apparent, but it will. In the first game, you already saw the fight that they had. I think it kind of does start out with the quarterback. Aaron was, mentally on his kind of way. He's kind of like phasing himself out. Um, while most, if not all, of the Jets roster, all are relatively young, like in their mid 20s at best. So that kind of didn't work out. But with Justin Fields, underrated or whatever you want to, label him as, he's, I guess, kind of not gotten his fair shake. And a lot of guys on the Jets could, probably kind of connect with him on that. And they want him to succeed. In turn, he wants to succeed himself and then for the team as well. So that marriage kind of does work out. We'll see what it does on the longer term. This one, like I said, I am rocking out with the Jets. Please don't, embarrass me. That's it. It could be a close game, and I'll take that egg to my face, but just don't make it a blowout. All right. Especially being at home. I think the run game, I think with Brees Braylon Allen, you guys could set something up. Having a running quarterback in Justin Fields helps those guys out. Offensively, Garrett Wilson's gonna want to, come back firing after his scuffle, tussle moment, whatever you want to say, against Jalen Ramsey, especially the last play of the game. He's gonna want to come out with a little bit of fire and just a divisional fire right there. So rocking out with the Jets in that one. Talk about that same division in the AFC East. Gotta talk about the Patriots going down to Miami to take on those Dolphins to see which team's gonna not be 0-2. And in this one, I think it's gonna be the Patriots. Why do I say that? Because I don't know if I've made said it on a video publicly, but I have commented this, and I do believe I might have tweeted it out as well. In case, if not, let's take a quick pause. Breather. Go like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Go back and watch the old season of Quick Takes real quick. Catch up on it. Go show some more love on, Jump Ball. Go show some love on Football Frenzy. Those videos are kind of still popping out right there. Like I talked about the Manchester Derby earlier. We're gonna, drop a video here or there regarding soccer as well. Sorry about my nails. But yeah, it's gonna, compound into more things later. But yeah, let's go do all those good stuff and getting back to it. Patriots at Dolphins. In this one, I think Patriots do win. I have more trust in Mike Vrabel. Going back to what I was saying, Mike McDaniels. This is a statement I have not made so far. I don't believe, but it's just not if, but when you're going to be fired. I mean, that's really the reality of the truth. For me, I have already said before the season even started, if it's the Spain game, when you guys do, which for me, still for my soul, does not make sense that it is not the Raiders that's starting out at the Santiago Bernabeu, but it is the Dolphins. So, do you want an interim head coach taking your whole squad to Spain and then bring them back and while you're kind of working because Tyreek's leaving. Waddle, we gotta see what happens. Tua, are you still rocking out with? So there's gonna be a lot of questions coming out. I think there's gonna have to be a wholesale change from Chris Greer, probably even the president of football operations, all the way down to head coach, and just a new transformations needed. I don't think anything else is gonna suffice for the Dolphins. Like I said, it has to be that Miami trip to Spain, back. What do you want to deal with in that situation? A new coach or just have the old coach? And then after that, once he comes back, maybe a week or two within that, you fire him, you start on the new journey, and then you wait till the off season, get your GM and your head coach out in order early and get that situated, and then you move with them into the next phase. That's just what I see for the Dolphins. Let me know if I'm wrong or right, Dolphins fans. Niners taking on the Saints in this one. This is a weird matchup as it is Spencer Rattler taking on not Brock Purdy, but Mac Jones. And it won't just be a 1 week experience. Purdy is expected to be out for a number of weeks. Still taking the Niners. I love, adore, just in terms of respect, like a big bro, Cam Jordan. I mean, seeing him play with Max will literally just, even for a year, just like bring so much peace to my soul. Like, yeah. But he is a one-team man so far. He is a New Orleans Saints. Um, arguably Mr. New Orleans Saint. But yeah, in this one, unfortunately, even at home, they are going to be taking that loss. Spencer Rattler, I do believe, so far as a starter, is either 0-7 or 0-8. So now it's kind of like, how long is this lease actually going to last until you get to Tyler Shuck, who you drafted in the second round? You didn't draft Shador, so there's that kind of discrepancy between the fan base anyway. Um, and for the Niners, they have a culture set. The defense, for the most part, still there. They look re-energized, revitalized. Secondary wise, there are still some questions in Renardo Green. Like there's some pieces like losing Ward and not really replacing them, but having to hand out the amount of money that you did. So give and take here and there. Gotta keep seeing that secondary develop. The pass catchers for the Niners, even they have not been healthy so far. George Kittle being out for a few weeks. Um, Brandon Ayuk still not being back from the PUP list, so might be an interesting one. Adding Kendrick Bourne definitely helps, but I still can't, give the Saints the benefit of the doubt because I have not seen anything from them so far. We'll see what happens going forward, but nothing yet. Talk about nothing yet. The New York Football Giants. You guys are nothing yet but frauds. You guys you guys got me last week. I forgot who is wide receiver 2, who is weapon number 2, who's pass catcher number 2. Outside of Malik Neighbors, who do you have? And the question has been answered, and it's absolutely nobody. Russ, even as a veteran, looked like a headless chicken out there. The offensive line could not really protect him well. Story of his career, really. Yeah, just whatever hope that I did have and the way I hyped him up last week, they kind of showed, yeah, nah, you're just kind of putting too much eggs in our basket, and I'm not going to do that. This week, it's going to be on the Cowboys basket. We are rocking with the Cowboys. Dak's record versus New York's, I mean, I feel like it shouldn't be even spoken about, kind of like Mahomes against the AFC West. Cowboys wide receivers and CeeDee Lamb, who had some drops that arguably costed the Cowboys that game. like we're talking about, that mentality of revenge. You just need something when you're great to kind of motivate you. And for this week, it could be just that. You still do have George Pickens on the other side. The tight ends were still kind of getting integrated well. It was week one of this offense, even though Shoddy was the OC. Now as a head coach, it's a different stratosphere. So interesting to see how that marriage between Dak and Shoddy kind of develops over time from not just a OC and a QB, but now as a head coach and a QB. Interesting. Moving on, talk about interesting. Bears at the Lions. Another divisional matchup. This time it's the North where we stomp at. And in this one, I have to, have to, have to roll with the Detroit Lions. Why do I say that? Like the Ravens, 0-2 Detroit Lions. I feel like that's going to start creating some loud noises. He already did in the press conference with the reporter kind of already irking Dan Campbell, so it should be interesting to see how the relationship between the reporters who started feeling themselves a little bit now that prosperity kind of came back into Detroit, even though probably in their whole lifetime they hadn't seen something like this. So, but that won't matter. But yeah, I think between Goff and Caleb Williams, you still rock out with Jared Goff. Offensive line obviously did not look that well for Detroit, but neither did it for Chicago. The investment Chicago made compared to the reshuffling essentially that Detroit did, you got to kind of still give it to Detroit because I mean it's three. You could it's still three new pieces as Glass now did move positions and stuff. So got to give them credit. You got to give them time. You got to let them gel. It should be interesting. The Jameer Gibbs stat that, if you don't know, I don't think you would want to. I think it was 10 catches for, I want to say, 34 yards, and one of the most like ugliest stat lines of all time. I just, yeah. And in a close matchup last year as well, from what I can remember, it was like a 23-20 matchup between the Lions and the Bears in Detroit. So even in a close one, like last year, where Bears had a chance, they kind of, choke that away. It is a Ben Johnson homecoming, so, Bears players might want to win this one for Ben. The Lions want to do that as well, and I feel like Lions players have that grit more than the Bears player and the trenches. I think, especially offensive line wise, I probably still do trust the Lions offensive line. We'll see what happens, but that should be a fun one. Moving on, Seattle at Steelers. And this one, I think I gotta rock out with the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's the Aaron Rodgers debut in Pittsburgh. I mean, after the way he just won in New York, he's still pissing. He's still letting out piss and vinegar, or whatever that saying is. But yeah, he's still doing that, and he is still him. And the rest of the roster too. They showed, hey, the defensive pieces, they were added for a reason. Slay, yup. Jalen Ramsey, game-winning tackle. Um, Cam Hayward got his pay bump. TJ Watt got his extension. I feel like they don't have. DK Metcalf got paid. Jalen Warren got paid. Offensive line still relatively young. Don't really need to pay nobody, and they need to step up. And that's really their only question. Is that young offensive line going to gel well? Are they going to be able to protect Aaron well? And how are they in the run game? We'll see how they are, but at least against Seattle, I think they should be able to handle it. I'm not gonna discount the Seahawks. That is, and especially defensively, that's going to be a very, very, very hard roster. Mike McDonald, he still has that black and purple blood on him, in him as a former Baltimore Raven. So he still kind of feels some type of way about the Pittsburgh Steelers. But having Patrick Queen getting, the idea from that middle linebacker on what Mike McDonald likes to run and getting all that intel should play a factor for the Steelers into, like I said, it's going to be a close game. You could say that for a lot of these matchups, as the parity in the league is actually, especially in the beginnings, going to be hard to kind of tell. But yeah, in this one, I gotta rock out with the Steelers. I think, like I mentioned, their young offensive line. Seattle's is slightly more experienced. I can't call them young, but at the same time, they still have their moments of head scratching. Like last week with Abram Lucas, kind of getting pushed back into Sam Darnold. That essentially kind of ended the game. Yeah, situations like those, game winning or game losing plays. So it should be interesting to see how Seattle bounces back, how Sam Darnold bounces back. The offense should take a little bit of time to gel, but they should come out. Excuse me. They should come out firing sooner rather than later. I do see Seattle being a interesting piece in the big picture for the NFC playoffs, especially at that 7th seed. But we move on now. We're in Indianapolis. Gots to go to Indy. What a game last week. 33-3. Is that going to be repeated against the Denver Broncos in this Peyton Manning Bowl? I don't think so. I am sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know if you call yourself Colts Nation, Colts Army. I don't know what your tagline is. Shouldn't really be nation, as there's only one nation under God, and it is Greater Nation. But in this, unfortunately, I hope the Colts win. I wish the Colts to win. But in my heart of hearts, for you guys, I gotta pick, who I really do know is gonna win. That I do believe is gonna be the Denver Broncos. Why do I say that? Well, that defense, Sean Payton, offense, which I feel like is getting overrated, personally. But until proven otherwise, let me see Bo Nix throw for 4 or 5 picks like DJ Lagwood just did yesterday, down in Death Valley. Should be interesting. Yeah, I just can't see Colts winning this one. The trenches are going to be solid, but not having Jalen Jones, not having Shavarius Ward at corners, Xavier Howard having a veteran like that does help out. I don't know if he's going to shadow Cortland Sutton. Outside of Sutton, I don't really know any wide receiver. Maybe a Troy Franklin that you need to worry about. Evan Ingram, sure, he's going to be that joker role for Sean Payton, but he wasn't really that effective in week one. So yeah, it should be interesting to see how both of these two teams fare. I think offensive line wise, Colts showed a renewed rejuvenation. They had been regressing last few years, losing a Ryan Kelly. They added a couple new pieces next to Quinn Nelson, and now they look like they're ready with the offensive weapons as well. They were there, but just not getting utilized the right way. Now with Danny Jones behind, hey, that offense did score every single time, and it's back at home. Is that energy of the fans? Is the energy of Mr. Ursay? Is that gonna, like, respectfully, to the players? I do know you guys are all capable, but I feel like that extra factor did play a factor last week. Is that gonna carry you guys into this week? Seeing Denver lose, obviously, it just any divisional opponent lose, that just fills my heart. So, um, Denver losing will kind of be of benefit for us anyway. But Colts are right there, man. Colts are right there. Jonathan Taylor running that rock. You do have Cam Bynum in it at safety. I'm not sure if Julian Blackman's still there, but hey, that's two solid safeties. Corners. Kenny Moore's still probably there at nickel, so you still do have a lot of pieces. It's just for Indy, I just don't see like a premier pass rusher. Lou Anarumo though, that defense, we got he's there. Should keep it interesting. Might keep it close. This one's too hard for me to even formulate like a real opinion about this, but I'm rocking out with Denver just to kind of get that win, just to be on that win column. we keep it moving. Talk about win column. That's what the Cardinals um, went up on last week. Yes, it was against the Saints, not the biggest test. This time as well, it is against the Panthers, so not the biggest test. But since they just did beat the Saints, I think they can beat the Panthers. It is at home. Kyler, I think I have to trust him for what he has done in his career. He has been a Pro Bowler amongst everything else. Over Bryce Young, he hasn't given a reason to be supported so far, respectfully. He might still have his chance, but it might take a few more years. I don't know. I think Carolina is ascending, but at the same time, they're kind of like stuck in a limbo of they're not a playoff team, but they're also not terrible enough to be at that number one position again, like they were. So they're kind of stuck in that limbo. Should be interesting to see how they kind of come out. The best matchup of this week, arguably between Marvin Harrison and J.C. Horn. Maybe that Travis Hunter and Jamar Chase matchup might be more intriguing, but for real football lovers, this should be a very, very good matchup as well between two tall, physical guys. Yeah, especially it being at home. Got to rock out with the Cardinals. We keep it moving. It is still the Bird Gang, but this time it is a Super Bowl champions in the Philadelphia Eagles with the Bird Gang, and they are taking on the Super Bowl opponents in the Kansas City Chiefs. And this time it is in at the home of the Chiefs. Yet I said cheats, not Chiefs. Or I could go convicts, but we're not starting beefs here. Keep it moving. In this one, talking about divisional, it's not hate. You know, I've been rocking out with the Chiefs. Unfortunately, when they do, when I feel like they are gonna win, they have been doing the winning so far. So it does kind of, put a smile on my face, picking up against them. You got somebody, yes, they had a good performance, but 24-20 against the Dallas Cowboys in your first game after winning the Super Bowl, I know for a fact that ain't nobody in that building satisfied. If not, probably actually everybody's just pissed. Starting off with Jalen Carter, who didn't even get to play a snap. He's gonna be there. Darius Smith being added on. Chiefs offensive line's gonna need a lot of work. So it should be interesting to see how without Worthy and Rice, the offensive line still not really being an upgrade. How Patrick Mahomes turns into the Superman that we know for him to be, but this time without the lack of without the resources around him. Andy Reid still Andy Reid. You still have other coaches in Spags and your special teams coach who are all phenomenal. So you are still playing three phases for 60 minutes. But Eagles are also on their, I mean, do you want to call them their era? Because they've been to two Super Bowls, won one. They could still get into one or two more at the very least, just like the Chiefs. And, this could be, kind of like a mixed in era of two teams. Kind of like you could kind of mix in a little bit of the Seattle Legion of Boom era in a long term, kind of, if you really want to look at it, the New England Patriots era. But like I said, the Bird Gang with the Seattle Seahawks got into that Patriots era. The Bird Gang with the Eagles is getting into this Kansas City Chiefs era. Got to rock out with the Super Bowl champions. They haven't given me a reason so far to doubt their ability. Dallas is just very that solid. Um, Landon Dickerson's health is going to be an interesting, aspect to keep an eye on. But Eagles, I do believe, will handle this, even if it is in Kansas City. And I think they handle it pretty well. I don't think it's that close of a matchup. I think they win by 2 scores. Yeah, at the very least, like 10 points. Yes, I'm a hater, sure, whatever. Moving on for the Sunday Night Football. We're finally here, ladies and gentlemen. I will finally be done talking. And for that, we are Starting back up at the North, where we stomp at, it is the Minnesota Vikings hosting the Atlanta Falcons. It's the North versus the South. And in this one, I got to rock out with the Vikings. Why do I say that? I mean, I could kind of point out, the northern teams taking on the southern teams recently in college football. But I won't do that. We're not going to mention Ohio State, Tennessee, and all that from last year. But at the same time, this is also the rematch from the 2023, I want to say, national title game between Washington and Michigan that, JJ McCarthy, the new quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, took on the not so new quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. This time, you do have different teammates, different level of competition, and everything. Which young quarterback are you trusting so far? And I probably will have to lean with it, rock with it, with JJ McCarthy. After last week, I'm a believer. I'm a JJ believer. Until like I said, you gotta prove me something else. Until you show me some, I gotta rock out with what you have shown me. That's the evidence. Yeah, just B flow against young quarterbacks. I should have done the research. I did not, but B flow against young quarterbacks, I do not trust it. Veteran DC is always going to bring that pressure. Van Ginky not being in this game does kind of leave a little something for me as where will they generate the pass rush. Harrison Smith, I do believe, is questionable. I hope Hitman does end up playing as he had to miss out last week's game. Having that veteran leadership in the back does help, but I think Vikings are just that next step above the Falcons right now. Falcons are where Vikings want to be. Um, Kirk Cousins bowl, I guess you could say this as well. But yeah, gotta rock out with the Vikings. KOC, that run game with Aaron Jones, the offensive line, even without Darisaw, school, however you want to say it. He did a decent job. He did not do the best job, but he kept JJ upright. It wasn't like JJ was panicking in the pocket. Um, the comeback on itself, yeah, it's just his moment right now. Um, for Michael Penix, I think he's just going to develop. I think he is going to be one of the more underrated quarterbacks going through, depending on the GM and the offensive weapons that the GM necessitates to um, Penix himself. Drake London's there. Pieces like Raybury and McLeod are there, but like to compete at the highest level, especially in the NFC, when Eagles weapon number two turns out to be a Heisman winner in Devontae Smith, and Jordan Addison for even Minnesota, even though he's not playing in this matchup. If you look at the Packers now, they reloaded with Matthew Golden as well, with Christian Watson, whoever you want to call wide receiver to there. JMO out in Detroit, Ricky Pearshaw out in San Francisco, is Puka Nakua or Devontae, whoever you want to say for the Rams. Like I just started naming off so many wide receiver too that are, I mean, possibly even in conversations ahead of Drake London. So you need some more pieces around. Yes, Kyle Pitts might have a resurgence, but is that going to be enough? Bijan Robinson, is that going to be enough? Defense, AJ Terrell. You do have Jesse Bates, Steve Vine, Diablo, my boy. I'm so happy for you that you're finally finding your stride out there in the ATL, adding young pieces in the D line, in the linebacker room. Uh, I do believe it was Jalen Walker that you guys adding the edge help that you guys did. Hopefully that generates more pass rush than last year. That's kind of like where the question's at. for the squad. But yeah, I think they're still right at that cusp of being a playoff team. Can they be that playoff team this year? Personally, I doubt it. That division's a little bit more competitive than I think it will. It will. It has shown so far. It will be a lot more competitive. It just depends how Saints move forward. It just depends how Panthers get their gears going. But yeah, Falcons after losing that very very tough one against the Buccaneers in Week 1 in the division, mentally as well. I think it's going to play a factor. They're down comparatively to Minnesota. You know, they could finally 53rd guy could give in a lot earlier than for Minnesota, who just came back with JJ McCarthy. So it should be interesting to see who comes out, who doesn't, and I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back with this one more time. Till then, peace.